Quick programming note on this upcoming episode. This was recorded before the college football season officially kicked off and immediately after the NFL teams cut down to the 53-man roster. There are some major updates in the NFL that occurred after we recorded. And finally, hook 'em horns. Hopefully by the time this comes out, I can celebrate the Texas victory that would have already occurred and or the unfortunate Texas loss. This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Wright Honda and Wright Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning, recording from my home studio here in Gilbert, Arizona. Coming up this week, coming up on this show, first off, happy Labor Day Monday to everybody. But coming up on this show, we have Brian Shehan of Anthem Cars and Coffee joins us to talk about his monthly event and a new event that is happening for the first time in the evening on September 13th, which is right around the corner. And as promised, Talk to Q joins the show, and we talk about college football and the upcoming NFL season. I'm not going to go into an official car news, but before this word from Arcus Foundry / Spark Forge, looks like Acura is now in the hole. Acura has recalled 1.2 million cars. I'm going off of memory. I'm not actively looking at the article. So give or take a couple 100,000 engine failure issues. I did check the list, and my wife's MDX is not on the list, nor is my 2022 Acura NSX Type S. But you may want to research that if you drive an Acura, especially an older one. Looked like it affected ones around the year mid to late 2000s, early 2015s, or early 2010s. Does anyone say the teens? Anyway, check that out. And then after this word from Arcus Foundry and Spark Forge, we'll get into it. So quick story for you. A listener lost a big job, missed the call, never saw the DM, probably because he was listening to this podcast. It happens, and it's fixable. Running a business shouldn't mean juggling a dozen apps and missing opportunities. SparkForge helps you reply faster, capture more leads, and get more reviews, all without adding hours to your day. One simple place to handle calls, texts, and social messages so you can focus on the work that pays. It's like finally putting your business on cruise control without losing the steering wheel. One login, one platform, all under your control. Consolidate your tech in one place to save time, money, and headache. The future is here, and it's powered by SparkForge AI from our friends at Arcus Foundry. Jump into a 30-day trial today by using code HARDPARKED at getsparkforge.ai and stop letting yesterday's tech eat tomorrow's profits. So if you guys are in the Phoenix area, Arizona area, you may have seen promotions for Anthem Cars and Coffee, which usually happens once a month. They have another event coming up, a brand new event called Anthem Nights, designed to, I wouldn't say fill a hole, but it's a perfect opportunity. As we previously discussed, the PAVS Rock and Roll Car Show is no longer, and we think this is going to be an excellent opportunity. So I'm joined by Brian Shehan, the man behind Anthem Cars and Coffee. Brian, welcome to Hard Parking, man.
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Anthem Cars and Coffee first, because I've gone to it once. It's far as hell away from me down here in Southeast Gilbert, but it is worth the drive. It's just a long drive for me, but I think it services a lot of people in your area. So tell us about it a little bit.
And that's kind of why, to go back to the history of why I started it. So I started going to car shows just like PAVS. I'm a child of the 80s, and I joined the VW Club, Beetle Club, back when I was a teenager. And we started driving out to the PAVS area in the late 80s. And at that time, there was nothing out there. We would drive out there, and there was a parking lot, and there was some little convenience stores and things. And then we kind of developed a little meeting area for the VW guys. And that evolved and kind of grew. And then PAVS, I think the McDonald's was built a couple years later, like around 89, 90, something like that. And then that show started, and we kind of blended in with that, making our own show, and then it just kind of went from there. And that's how I got to be a real big fan of car shows. And then I started got together with my buddy Rich Garcia, who owns DynoComp, and he and I, with a couple other friends, started the Shelby Club, because we all went out and bought Shelbys. This was the old CSXT, the Dodge body that was after Carroll Shelby left Ford. He went to Chrysler with Lee Iacocca and started those cars. So we had a bunch of those, and we started the Shelby Club in Arizona, and I did a bunch with that, and that kind of grew. And I thought, maybe, you know what, this would be kind of fun. Someday I'd like to do this, have my own car show. But I didn't think it was a thing. one day I went to one out in Scottsdale. Won't say who it was, but it was a lot of Ferraris and turnkey bought yesterday McLarens. I pulled in with at this time I had a E93 M3 that was all decked out. Richard built it from Dyno Comp. It was pretty bad.
Sure. Pretty
badass car. Drove it into their car show and they said, "What are you doing here? You can't show this car." And I said, "Dude, this is a $86,000 BMW M3, man." "No, it's not a show car." And I said, "Well, because it's not a Ferrari or a Lambo and they said, "No, this is not your kind of show." And I said, "Well, you know what? Whatever. F you."
Wow.
So in that respect, I kind of started my car show out of spite. So went home, talked to my kids, and my kids at the time were, early teens. And my younger son was really into cars like me. So we had these little postcards made up. And on one side, it said, "Nice car." On the other side, it said, "Join us for Anthem Cars and Coffee." And I put the date and location. And I made a deal with this coffee shop in Anthem that I saw. This coffee shop guy drove a really cool Corvette. He goes, "This guy's into cars. He'll love this idea of a car show." So my son and I drove around the malls for about 3 weekends in a row, putting these postcards on people's windshields that we thought were cool cars. Whenever we saw a cool car, he'd jump out, he'd put it on their windshield. And then I have a first show and I had a little boom box over in the corner for my music and my little Easy Up and stuff, handing out stickers and flyers. First car show, I had 65 cars. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Then I started getting onto Instagram and Facebook and started doing all that and learning the Google.
Hold on, Brian. About when was this? Like how many years ago?
This was fun thing. It was just before COVID. It happened. I started in October of 19. So I get going, and the first show has got 65 cars. Second show, 250 cars. I was bursting at the seams. I had no room. I was taking up Wendy's parking. I was taking up Ace Hardware's parking, Circle K's parking. And people were parking everywhere. It was just blowing up and overflowing. So I figured, crap, I got to do something. So I started looking around for another location. Anyway, that went at that location for about 6-8 months or so like that. And then I found this church down the road, this Palmcroft church. Because one of my charity partners that does my show with me, one of my vendors, basically, she runs a charity called Youth for Troops. She would come to my show and she said, "Hey, why don't we do it at the church? I run this church thing." So I went over there and they had a lot more parking, about 250, 300 spots, and outgrew that in 2 months. So struggled there for about 2 years, going, making it work with limited space, over parking, things like that. In the meantime, I was working a deal, trying to get in my foot in the door at the outlet mall. Come to find out, the guy who owns the outlet mall owns about 11 or 12 outlets all over the country. And he just happens to own the biggest weekly car show in California in San Clemente at his outlet mall. Oh, no
kidding.
Yeah. So funny thing is, I start talking to the ladies who run the outlet mall, the management people. And they're like, we're not interested. They didn't understand what a car show was. They go, "Well, how many cars do you sell?" They think I'm like an RV show, like I'm going to sell cars. And they didn't understand what a car show was. So I had to go through that hurdle for about a year. And then finally they called me up one day and they said, "Hey, our boss bought this convertible Cadillac Coupe de Ville on bags and he can't get it running. And he's out in Ohio. And I thought maybe I'd call you to see if you could help us out." So I went there. Turns out dead battery. So I fixed that. Then it turns out I wouldn't go into gear because I had no trans fluid. So I put like 8 quarts of trans fluid in that thing, got it started. Apparently that was enough to make everybody happy. And somehow I got in.
Nice.
And then that's it. Now the rest of it's just, I do my show there. They love it. I got the food court. They're all into it. They come out and they do their little outdoor kitchens during my show sometimes. I got a great tea guy who does my show on a regular basis. I got a few vendors, and it's just kind of grew from there. And then when the pavilion started getting a little weird towards the end there, when they started doing that event company and stuff, and I talked to Andrew out there, when that I heard the rumblings of that going away, that's when I started thinking, well, maybe I can start something. I'm not trying to go out there to fill the void. There's enough nighttime events out there. Nancy's got hers in Glendale, and there's the Trackstar guy, and there's other guys that are doing shows at night. But the nice thing about my show, and I hope this kind of resonates with the people that go to it, is my show I kind of intended to be more of like a destination thing, not just a show you go to, but maybe like a road trip. Like, hey, I'm going to go to Flagstaff, or I'm going to go to Prescott, or I'm going to go to Sedona. I'm going to stop by Anthem Cars and Coffee. And then I started appealing to all the car clubs out there and said, hey, you know what? Make my show a meeting point for your rallies. You know, you guys are going to go on this Sedona rally. Meet at my show at 7 a.m, have some coffee, have some tea, do your thing, then roll out, you know? And then so I started appealing to like 21st Century and the BMW clubs and some of these other guys out there to see if they'd be interested in doing it. And the guys who really grabbed on pretty well and pretty good numbers were the Corvette Club and the Mustang guys. And
a lot of numbers between those two.
Oh man, a lot of New Balance and cargo shorts. I mean, great attendance, really nice guys, a little bit of the older crowd, which I'm fine with. I'm kind of leaning into the older crowd myself.
Less problems.
But my kids are both 19 and 21, and they're all into cars, and they're like, man, you got to have a nighttime show, Dad. You got to do this. And my biggest fear was I didn't want it to turn into a cluster. I didn't want it to be that show where the cops come, where people are popping and crackling and two-stepping and burnouts and all that. So I've been kind of on the fence to deciding whether I wanted to do it or not. And then I got a hold of a buddy of mine who works for the Maricopa County Sheriff. And he's like, man, you need security out there because all you need is a couple of bodies out there. They're wearing uniform and some twinkling lights, and everybody will stay chill, just like they did at the pavilions. I think that's what kept the pavilions kind of that even tone where people didn't get out of hand because there was that presence.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. I think you're right.
And when Andrew was on, we kind of talked about a couple times it kind of got out of hand because people are just going to be people. But yeah, for the most part, you need presence there to help keep people in order.
Yeah, and I've been to other shows where they had no presence, and it was somewhere where I wanted to get the heck out of there.
Right.
And businesses, didn't like it, So
of your three so now Anthem Cars and Coffee is at the Anthem outlets, right?
Yeah, I've been at the Anthem outlets now for just over a year and a half now, and they love it. The mall is totally supporting me. Then? This is my third spot.
But I was at your second spot. I remember
you were at the church.
Yeah, the church sounds right.
Yeah, it was Palmcroft Church.
Yep. And so you have Anthem Nights coming up. This launches, I believe, Saturday, September 13th. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. We're going to go from probably like 5 to 8, 4 to 8, something like that. See how I'm opening the gates at 4, but I figure the show will go like 5 to 8. And I'm doing it to 8 because that's when the mall technically closes. That's my permit time. That's my license and contract with them. So people are welcome to hang out afterwards and just keep it chill. And I think it'll be a good show. I got some vendors coming out. Like I said, I got 2 restaurants in the food court. Going to do an outdoor kitchen. I'm going to be playing my own music. I'm an 80s, ex-80s, early 90s DJ. So I'm just going to bring my own stuff and just put something on my phone and let it play. That's pretty much it. I'm hoping it turns out well.
Because you're and maybe you don't have that problem now because what time does the outlet typically open up in the morning? So like now, like 9, 11, 10?
It's 11. And that's why I do my morning show either from 7 to 10 or 8 to 11. The reason I do that is because the mall originally was a little bit they were a little bit worried about the fact that I might have 500 cars show up and they don't have any room for their customers to park. Mm-hmm. So that was originally why we set up the time to end before the mall opened. But now they're finding that, hey, if I trickle into the opening time or start before the closing time, that's going to help the food court. That's going to help foot traffic. And Nike's going to be happier. And all these other stores are going to be happy because they got more people around.
Now, with the event starting at 4, how are you going to mitigate the parking? I would assume you have a set spaces, but let's say somebody shows up at 2:00 and they're shopping and they're all up in the space.
Well, they won't go into the space because I have it roped off. Basically, the way I've been doing it since I started there is I go there the night before, real late after the mall is open, and I caution tape it off with my cones and my tape. and I close off the area, put all my signs up at night, my street signs, so people know where to go and where to park. I also have 3 guys. Well, I have 4 guys technically, plus my 2 boys that are kind of my team that help me organize. We all wear headsets. We have 2-way radios, and we kind of spread each other out to where Mike will say, hey, I got a 57 Chevy coming in, and go to row 3, where Reagan will be sitting there at row 3 and he'll park that guy. Or, hey, I got a NSX coming, we'll park that in row 1 and throw that in the exotics. And that's how we kind of organize it.
Communication, man, it's great.
Yeah, it's great. We have to do the 2-way radio thing. We tried it our first few shows without it, and people would just be parking wherever they want. I try not to be too stiff with the way I park the show, but I also like to keep it somewhat organized by genre. Just like the pavilions did. They kind of did the same thing. And I don't get real picky about that, but I try not to blend my classics with my, imports, or my Germans with my, Japanese. So I'd kind of try to organize it as best I can. My second show, I'm standing there organizing my biggest my 200 and some cars show, my second one. And these little kids come walking up to me, these 3 brothers. And they're like 14, 16, and 12 or something like that. And they walk up to me and they're holding cameras and this drone and all this cool stuff. I'm like, wow, you guys are set up. And they say, hey, Brian, do you mind if we film your show and we'll post some stuff for you? Well, they did. And they did such a good job that they've been my media guys since that day.
Well, that's awesome, man.
And they've grown their own company because of it.
That's cool. What are they called?
They're called CSG Visuals.
Oh, yeah. They're on your Anthem Cars and Coffee Instagram.
Yeah. And they're actually in Vegas right now doing a shoot for their own company because they grew.
That's awesome.
And I hope that I had something to do with that, hopefully, because they really kind of learn their groove and learn their technique, I think, from doing a lot of videos for me.
It sucks I'm not going to be able to get to your inaugural, your very first Anthem Nights show. I will be traveling to NS Expo, an annual event that I do every year.
That's a good
another
one.
part of the country. And I kind of have to be there. I am the club president.
Yeah.
So, best of luck with it. People want to follow, they can go to Anthem.Cars and Coffee on, I guess, Instagram, and all the social media is right there behind you.
Yeah, and I got Facebook too. Oops, sorry. And see all that.
Yeah. So Facebook, no dot, and then on YouTube, Anthem Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, and then we have the old faithful.com too, anthemcarsandcoffee.com.
Do people need to pre-register for this?
No,
or can they just show up?
I don't do any registration ahead of time. I do ask that if people want to come out in bulk, they want to come out with the club, just let me know ahead of time how many spots you need, and I'll block off an area for your club so you guys can all be together.
Nice.
I want to warn people too that out there's a lot of scammers, and there's a lot of people that'll get onto my site and get onto my comments, and they'll comment about, hey, you got to pay us to register, direct message me. I call them hijackers because I've had a couple of my people that come to my shows that have gotten burned.
That's wild.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, scammers out there, but no, there's no registration. There's no fee. There'll be food. There'll be vendors. The food court's open. The bathrooms are really clean and nice. Plus you got the mall. Do your shopping while you're showing your car.
Sounds good, Brian. Hopefully you guys knock it out. I'm sharing it on social media, share it on in all the car groups, and I'll try to get to the following one.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have another promo video we're filming tomorrow. Hopefully get that out. We'll throw it out there on all the social media and TikTok and everything.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
Great. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
As expected, like I told you guys, I warned you guys, we're going to have Talk to Q back on. We love talking football, love sports. I've said this many times. I'll say it again. I think that sports is probably my first love, even more so than cars. So, Q, it's great to have you back, man.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. I appreciate being here, man. It's that time of the year.
It is that time of the year. So who is that behind your shoulder, number 9 autograph there?
That's Steve McNair from his days at Alcorn.
Alcorn State University,
Yeah.
Eric McNair.
So got to meet him on a couple of occasions as I went to Mississippi Valley State, so I was there when he was there, so, in the sweat. So
Nice, man, nice.
Yeah, I got to see him and Michael Strahan in college.
So what we're going to be talking about today are some surprising roster cuts. Obviously, we're going to do way too early predictions for the NFL season. I think we're technically still 2 weeks away from game 1 of the season. Fantasy football drafts haven't happened yet. I'm going to join a fantasy league this time for the first time in like 11 years. Travis Hunter, Ashton Jonty, Shador Sanders, and then we're going to get into college football, which is my real love. We're going to talk some Michigan Wolverines, some Texas versus Ohio State, and too soon predictions. I got to tell you, though, earlier I was on X, and somebody had posted tickets for the Texas A&M game, which is the last game of the season. So you talk about way too early, Q. And I know that we're going to talk about college football in a second, but just made me think about this. Tickets are already going. The cheap seat nosebleeds are $850. Most of the rest of the tickets that I saw on the seating chart from all different sections are up to $5,000.
Oh, man. And this game is going to be played in which stadium?
This is going to be a DKR. This is going to be in Texas this year. Last year they traveled to where the Aggies play, Kyle Field.
Man. If those prices are that high now, I can only imagine what they're going to be a couple of months from now to get closer to the date, especially if both teams having great seasons.
That's the thing. I expect these prices to go down between now and the last game of the season because one team could be 500. You know, the other team could not have that perfect season that people think. You know, most people think. I've seen Texas being like 10-2, maybe 10-3, and I'll get into that and my complaint about that. Mm-hmm. But NFL roster cuts. NFL football, NFL is king. Are there any roster cuts that you're surprised at? Any moves you think are going to happen? I sent you the list here. One of the things that stand out to me is, and I saw this name pop up, and he's the ghost from Christmas Past, is on Buffalo Bills. But Shane Buechele used to be with the Texas Longhorns. He was supposed to be the next guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it was, I forgot who he got supplanted by. Oh, I think it was Sam Ehlinger. So Shane Buechele transferred to SMU, and he played the rest of his time at SMU, and he made it to the NFL. So, but that's all I have on the Bills. On any of your teams or any other roster cuts that you've seen that surprised you, maybe some roster people that made the 53-man roster that surprised you?
I guess what surprised me right off the bat was Marquise Valdez-Scantling in Seattle. I thought he had a good year with the Saints last year at receiver. And to see him get cut in Seattle means that they really have faith in their young receivers. Because, you have Jackson Smith and Jigba. Well, Cooper Kupp's not young. Then you have a couple of young draft picks that they have at 3 and 4. So I was surprised to see him go, especially since I think he had already gotten paid. And then Mecole Hardman with the Packers. Mecole Hardman. I
saw that too.
Has Super Bowl pedigree from playing with the Chiefs. And the Packers have been kind of up and down with their receivers. Good young talent, but they just can't seem to catch the ball when it matters. So I was kind of surprised to see him go. But a guy that I understand they had to let go because there just wasn't enough room, but he was a fan favorite, the quarterback Tommy DeVito from the Giants.
Oh, the Giants, yeah.
Yeah, everybody was in the stands doing the DeVito move, so to speak. And but if you have Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston, there was no room on that team for him.
Right.
So, but I can see him getting picked up. I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a few people, and then you did name the biggest receiver at Seattle.
With DK Metcalf being gone?
Oh, is he gone? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's with the Steelers now. So he's gonna be with Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, that's what makes it even more surprising because their best receiver got shipped out, and they're gonna roll with Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp.
Didn't Scantling also play on the Chiefs?
Yeah, he did have a stint with the Chiefs. I think he started out with the Packers. And then I was kind of surprised to see Teddy Bridgewater make Tampa Bay's team. I thought Kyle Trask out of Florida was going to stick.
Did they release Trask?
Yeah, he got released.
That's what I thought.
I thought he was going to stick that backup role, but Teddy Bridgewater beat him out.
And poor Sam Ehlinger, thought he played pretty decent in the preseason, but the Broncos released him. Maybe he'll get signed back to the practice squad again. This just happened yesterday, so I think once people clear waivers, right? I think they have like a week, and then they can sign them back to the squad.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of movement, I'm sure, coming soon. I think the receiver position is the one that hit me the most as far as people who got cut that I really didn't expect, like Hunter Renfrow with Carolina Panthers. He
Yeah.
he was solid with the Raiders, but I don't think he just recovered from his injuries.
Yeah, I was reading that he was down to like 150 and was going to
Wow.
retire. And Dabo Sweeney kind of talked him back into football. But I guess he was getting praised. So either he's going to go to the practice squad to keep, getting back to his normal playing weight, maybe, or someone's going to pick him up. Maybe he goes back to the Raiders.
Yeah.
I mean, they just got Kenny Pickett, and to me, that was kind of surprising because all training camp long he was quarterback too. Obviously, he got hurt a little bit, but at least he's played some time in the NFL and proven that. I thought Pickett was pretty good with the Steelers. I didn't think he was going to take anyone to the Super Bowl, but I didn't think he sucked.
Yeah. I think Pickett's pretty solid. So he could be in a good spot there playing behind Geno. So we'll see what happens. Geno Smith got sent from Seattle to the Raiders.
I see one of your Michigan guys got cut from the Jets, Donovan Edwards.
And yeah, Donovan Edwards, man, if he would have come out his junior year, he probably would have been a first round pick. He stayed for his senior year, didn't go well, and now he's just a dude, And I hate that. You're an NCAA college football cover athlete, on the video game, and here it is. You can't keep a job right now. So I kind of hate that for him. And Xavier Restrepo was released from Tennessee, which I can't say I'm surprised, but I kind of wanted to see him and Cam Ward play together again since they were Miami teammates. So maybe he'll get re-signed to the practice squad. But outside of that, not really too many huge surprises to me. I think a lot of these teams are pretty much set after the second preseason game, and people are just ready to get the season started.
Let's talk about Travis Hunter, revisit Travis Hunter, Ashton Jonty, and Shedeur Sanders, starting with Travis Hunter. I am on record as saying I'm still not convinced he's going to do great at the next level. I didn't really watch. I saw the one game where he made a couple catches. It didn't look that impressive. It looks like he's easy to bring down on a simple arm tackle because he's just so small. And I don't know if they put him out on defense. Actually, I think I saw him on defense, maybe not get trucked, but maybe get turned around and maybe we got lucky on an assist or so. But I'm still don't know what's going to happen with him. Obviously, all three names that I just mentioned made their team. The only one that was flaky was Shedeur, just because he got picked so low, not because of his overall performance. But have you had time to look into Travis Hunter at all?
Yeah, I think Travis can be a decent defensive back, like maybe even a Pro Bowl defensive back if that was his focus. But trying to do both, I can't really see him being great at either. And I think he's a better DB than he is a receiver. But I don't know. This whole trying to go two ways thing is cool. I get it. Maybe it worked in college for you, which kind of surprised me there. But in the pros, man, that is so taxing. And I just can't see him really perfecting his craft if he's splitting both sides of the ball.
I just haven't really had an opportunity to see anything happen with him, and hopefully everything happens for him. But I agree. I'm still not convinced. I think he's going to be pretty good. I don't think he's going to be a draft bust.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to see more. I mean, it's just preseason, right? You're not going to waste all this time on your top pick.
Right.
You don't want to get him injured.
Maybe he proves everyone wrong. But when you look at Dion, I mean, he was limited on offense when he played. It wasn't like he was full time. You look at guys like Charles Woodson, he'll play a little offense. But he was mainly a DB. And that's what I think Travis Hunter should do. If you want to come in on a couple of plays on offense, fine. But focus on being a DB because I think that can be his bread and butter.
Yeah, I want to say Dion was wide receiver 2 on the Dallas Cowboys when he joined after San Francisco. He was the starting wide receiver, but behind like Michael Irving. Mm-hmm. I think even Alvin Harper, if he was still there, was like wide receiver 3. But that was still midway through his career where he was already well established at doing other things. I mean, I think even when he was with Atlanta, he caught some end arounds, maybe some screen passes, if that. And then with San Francisco, he caught a couple hooks, maybe 1 or 2 deep balls, caught some, dropped some because, I mean, he's out there playing receiver with fucking baseball gloves on.
Yeah, so with Travis, if he goes over the middle too many times, it can really just beat him up for the defensive side of things. So, yeah, I don't like the idea, but we'll see what happens.
Ashton Jonty, I saw him play a couple plays, and that's it. I didn't really get time to dig in. Looks like I don't know what to expect. He's a smaller guy too. He's pretty elusive, but I didn't see him breaking too many tackles. So I think he's going to have to rely on his shiftiness, kind of like a Saquon Barkley with that's smaller. Because I think Barkley has bigger tree trunk legs and is just as shifty. But he did make some plays, I think, and I think they have big hopes for him out there in Vegas. What have you heard, if anything, on Ashton?
Yeah, I watched him play a little bit in preseason, and I think the perfect person to compare him to, in my opinion, is Ezekiel Elliott, to where he really started out fast, but he wore down quickly. And I think because Ashton, unless he can work on that shiftiness you talk about and avoid some of the contact, he could be one of those guys after about 6 seasons who may be burnt out, depending on how much they use him. So I expect good things out of him. I think he's going to be a solid running back. But how long he can last depends on his ability to make people miss.
What do you think about Shador? Did you see where they released 4 of the 5 offensive linemen that were blocking for him in the last game?
Yeah, I think Shador has the potential. I hate to use that 9-letter word, but I think he has the potential to really be a good quarterback. But there's some basic things he has to work on, and one of those things is trusting his offensive line. Now, the guys he played behind in the last game, I understand why you would not trust them. But in previous games and even in college, he tends to just drift backwards instead of stepping up in the pocket and making a throw. And he doesn't like to step up in the pocket because he holds the ball so long because he's looking for something big downfield. And once you step up, you only have a split second to get rid of it. So if he can figure that out, trust his offensive line to know that, hey, when these defensive ends rush up the field past you, yeah, they're coming back, but you got to step up and get rid of that ball before they make it back to you. And I think he can really be good. He's deadly accurate. Man, he's super accurate.
Yeah, and I made that comp to Joey Harrington, and some people who heard that kind of agreed. I think overall people would probably scoff at it, but, I lived through the Joey Harrington days in Detroit. A lot of similarities, dropping back way too far. Harrington would be 10, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage before he released the ball. You have to get outside of the pocket and throw that ball out. You can't dance around, and this is the NFL. You're going to get killed. Obviously, there's a whole collusion thing that's been going around with Eric Dickerson basically saying that he heard that they were told not to draft him. I don't know, if that's true, maybe, but I also saw plenty of stuff in me watching, and I'm not trying to be a hater because I follow Colorado like millions of others because I'm a diehard Deion Sanders fan and you want the underdog to win. But that play, that 30-yard loss or whatever it was, kind of defined what I was thinking of him for the past few years at Colorado. I was like, dude, you have to step up. You have to get rid of that ball.
Yeah. And I think Shador will get opportunities if he corrects his mistake. They're basic mistakes. I mean, rookies are going to make mistakes. A couple of corrections here and there, and he'll elevate himself off the, up the depth chart. But all these people saying that he wasn't given a fair chance because he had to play behind that garbage line and all that stuff. Well, that's what happens when you get drafted where he got drafted. That's how it works. You don't draft someone that low and let them play with starters. That's not how it goes. The quarterbacks based on priority are going to get the best offensive line in front of them. So, but the thing is, even if you have a bad offensive line in front of you, you can't drift backwards and take 30-yard sacks.
I'm excited to see what happens. 2 soon predictions for Ashton, Travis, and Shador. What are your predictions for this season? And then who do you have winning the Super Bowl? Again, this is way too early predictions.
Yeah, it's definitely early. Travis Hunter, I can see 5 interceptions, maybe about 500 yards receiving, like 35 catches, 500 yards, few touchdowns, something simple. Ashton, I can see Jhae doing about 1,200 yards rushing. I think having Geno Smith at quarterback is going to afford him some opportunities through play action to do pretty well running the ball. And then as far as Shador is concerned, I don't really see him coming off that bench this year. Unless everybody in front of him gets hurt. I think he's going to ride this one out and maybe come next season make his mark on trying to move up the depth chart.
I have said I have Shador starting by week 3. Now, this was before all this stuff even happened.
Yeah.
And so I have to stick to that, although I would not put money on it. A lot of stuff has to happen in front of him. But Joe Flacco, he can look great in preseason, but he could turn around and he's one injury away from, all of a sudden you have Dylan Gabriel. And I think that Dylan Gabriel and Shador are a lot closer than the depth chart suggests. I think half the people would say Shador is better, half the people would say Dylan Gabriel is better. But I think Shador probably has the intangibles. So it'll be interesting to see. I could see him leapfrogging or Dylan Gabriel getting pulled really quickly if he struggles and then putting Shador in.
Yeah,
But
I think
that's way too
I think
early.
the only difference between the two is that Dylan gets rid of the ball quickly.
I'm going to take your predictions on Travis Hunter and Ashton Jonty. I think Ashton's going to be I think he's going to be good on fantasy football because I don't know what other choices they have there. He'll probably have 400 yards receiving. He'll probably have 40, 50, I don't know 40, 50 catches, but maybe 40 catches, 500 yards receiving, 900 or 1,100 yards rushing, and he'll probably have 20 total touchdowns and make the all-rookie team. Travis, no idea. 5 interceptions I think would be a reach.
Yeah, bro.
Because I don't think he's going to get much playing time until later in the season. And I told you about Shador. Super Bowl, I'm going to have to go with the Bills. This is a Bills house. We're going to a Bills game early in October, actually. And Josh Allen in the Bills is the pick. I don't know their defense. Their defense always lets them down.
Well, and I forgot to give my pick, but I'm with you with Buffalo, and I think Philadelphia is going to get back because the NFC really doesn't have anyone to challenge Philadelphia. But as far as who's going to win it, that's going to be tough. But I can see Buffalo finally pulling it off and ending that long spell of disappointment.
College football, try to talk about what are your expectations for Michigan this year? And they have some suspensions. What's that going to affect? If players are getting paid, they have to decide if they want the money or they want the glory. But they probably can't have both for this year and maybe the next few years. I haven't looked into the suspensions for the program. I don't even know if they're having
And
suspensions.
coaches are getting suspended, but the program is pretty much safe. They're going to hit them in the wallet. So they're losing postseason money, like I think up to 20 million, or was it 30 million? It's a lot of money. The coach, Moore, will be suspended for, I think it's for one game, maybe two. Yeah, but the thing
That's
is,
it?
and maybe this is the new motto of the NCAA, they don't want to punish the players for something someone else did and left. So they're starting to hit the institutions in the wallet and the coaches. I'm hoping they can go 8-4. That would be a respectable season. If everything goes well, maybe they could fool around and get 9 or 10 wins.
Colorado, I think, is going to take a huge step back this year because their big three are gone. I wouldn't be surprised if Dion retired halfway through the middle of the season for health reasons.
I hope not. Colorado, they have like 30 transfers. So these are guys who have been playing in other places. They're seasoned players. And if those guys can gel, they can be pretty good. They can be right back at 9 wins. They have a tough schedule with Kansas State, Arizona State, BYU, Texas Tech. They have a tough schedule. If they can gel and run the ball, Marshall Faulk is their new running back coach. So Marshall Faulk is worth his, weight in gold, and they run the ball and who knows? Maybe they can surprise some people and get back to 9 wins. But it's going to be tough because, like you said, their stars are gone.
Yeah. And then the big thing is, will Arch Manning live up to the hype at Texas? And then what is that hype? My response is, I don't know how we measure that. I think he's probably going to do really good. I would hate to be Arch Manning with all the pressure. He plays Joe Cool right now, but there's no way that pressure is not kind of getting to him a little bit. It's arguably the biggest school in the country, one of the biggest 3 schools in the country, not only for money, but also just for recognition. People either love or they hate Texas, and he's the man at the helm.
Just having the last name Manning, you should be expecting a lot of pressure. And I'm hoping if anybody can handle it, it's this guy, when you consider what Peyton and Eli went through and how they succeeded. So I like the fact that he's very versatile. He can run that ball. A lot of people just think of him, when they think Manning, they think passing. He's the one athletic Manning that's probably in the family. So he can run that thing. And I look for him to do big things. I really do. I don't think the pressure is too much for him.
Let's get into early predictions first. I'll do that because I have no idea. Texas is picked, I think, statistically to be the team to win the national championship. I love Texas. I'm a diehard Longhorns fan. I'm going to have to take the field on this one. I don't know. I'm just going to have to take the field. I think it's funny that they're the number one overall preseason team ranking-wise, the closest ever, or the closest in 30 years. Number 2 is Penn State. Number 3 is Ohio State. But somehow they're a 2.5-point underdog for game 1. And I don't understand. I know they're going to Ohio State, but if you think that the team you picked to be the number 1 in the country is going to lose their first game, why the are they number 1 to begin with?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. But I like Texas to win this game on against Ohio State. Even though Ohio State's like a 2.5-point favorite, I just think they lost too much. They lost so much in the trenches, you know. I mean, first you lose both your running backs, you lost your quarterback. I think you lost your complete defensive line. And Texas, man, those edge rushers are monsters. Those guys are going to get after that new quarterback, Sane, I think his name is. And even though they have great receivers in Ohio State, I think Texas defense is going to be too much. I do think it'll be a low-scoring game, though. You know, like I don't know, 28-21 type of game. Nothing astronomical.
That's not that low scoring, though. I think a lot of people are saying Texas 27-17. I'm seeing people say Ohio State's going to, win comfortably. I think Paul Feinbaum is predicted a blowout for Texas because he says Ohio State is ranked way too high. I don't know. I don't like predicting my own team playing. I'm superstitious like that. I just hope, honestly, it's not even a close game. I hope Texas just blows their doors off, kind of like they did Michigan last year when they caught Michigan kind of unguarded.
Yeah,
the low point of Michigan
of course,
season.
as a Michigan fan, I hate Ohio State, so I'll always pull against them. But I think, Ohio State's quarterback is fairly new. Arch Manning is starting for the first time, but he's been in the system, so this is just third season in the system. So he knows that system.
Yep.
Right.
But who do you have winning it all this year?
I have to go with Texas. I know it's the sexy pick right now, but Penn State's not going to do it. Notre Dame's not going to do it.
Everybody around him seems to have taken, nobody, not to gloss Arch Manning too much, but I think everybody around him has lost that important quarterback position. And with the exception of, I think Clemson, people are talking about Cade Klubnik a lot. He was really good, and I think I've heard in some circles where he may be kind of considered as a dark horse for a Heisman frontrunner. He impressed the shit out of me last year watching him play, especially against Texas. So, we'll see. You have Texas. I have the field. I obviously hope Texas wins the national championship. I would be excited, and I'll bring Izzy's little jersey out. But that's all I have. That's all I have today. Thank you for meeting up with me, Q. We'll get the technical glitches kind of ironed out here on the episode.
Okay, thanks for having me, Jay. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. No problem. Hey, guys, thanks for checking out the show. If you like what you heard, or even if you didn't like what you heard, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to it on traditional podcast media, go ahead and go over to YouTube and hit that like button. And please subscribe. I'm trying to move everything to YouTube. It's been a lot of good time trying to make these videos. But anyway, so with that being said, I do want to thank the show's sponsors, Right Honda, Right Toyota, Toyota of Huntington Beach, I got to read this, Claremont Toyota, and Gardenia Honda. Can't forget ArcusFoundry.com, and of course, AutoCannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. I want to thank our Patreon business supporters, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Automotive Specialty Tool out of Owings Mills, Maryland, The Lucky Brakes, Sports Breakers out of Caledonia, Michigan, Big House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan, and the Shade Bros out of Boise, Idaho. If you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, feel free to either become a member on YouTube, so you get episodes early when they're ready early, which isn't very often, or you can join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month. You get access to bonus audio, bonus video, and exclusive swag, as well as all the normal swag that comes out without having to pay for it. Special shout out to Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alex Comita, Andrew Bunkley, and Dre Mullins for supporting the show. If you want to email the show, info@hardparking.com. Follow me on Instagram @Pfenning. Follow the show @hardparkingpod. I already told you to subscribe via YouTube, and I meant it.
Shut up!